Alright, YouTube, it's time for Occult video number 120, the big 120, which was my plan for by the end of the year. The original plan was 100. I went a little bit overboard. I'm sorry about that. I just couldn't contain myself because of all the demons inside me. You know, some of you get a chuckle out of that. This video is about how sometimes, it's sort of in reflection of the occult throughout the year, sometimes I wish I was actually like a crystal-gazing lightworker or something. I wish sometimes within my life, not within the occult so much because that's treating me pretty well generally. I wish that life were as easy as I could just look at a bunch of like rose quartz and magically feel like everything was fine. Oh, I've got insomnia, but it's okay. I got like my bowl of crystals here, so I'm gonna sleep soundly, and then I do, or something like that. You have to be able to be fooled by the placebo effect. You have to be able to fool yourself with it too. Because the more authentic side of the occult is, in some cases, very dry academia. In some cases, mildly upsetting at times. Of course, you do have the occasional ritual that involves the fat of a hanged man or something like that. So any time that you're cutting off a thief's hand in order to light your way so you can commit more burglaries, you know really what's up, I suppose. But it would be easier to be like a light worker. It's like people that believe in orgone. Now, I don't believe in orgone. That's not occultism. It's not even spirituality. It's a blob of resin with metal shavings in it, honestly. That's what orgone rocks are. It's not a rock. It's a piece of resin. A lot of people believe in these things. They believe, they wave them around in circles at clouds, and then they look at the clouds and pretend that they see the clouds parting. Or they drop it in water and then it's pure, it's safe to drink or something. Those of us who maybe have delved more into secular academia and reason, as well as the more authentic occult, on both ends, this sort of mentality is utterly excised from us. That is, ignorance is bliss, I suppose would be the best way to put it. If you actually believe that a piece of resin with metal shavings in it is capable of changing the weather, is capable of dispelling government mind control rays or preventing cancer or whatever it happens to be, your life is pretty easy. Even if you're suffering, you'll be convinced that you're going to get through it. You'll probably just die in your sleep. Even if you're in pain, you'll just sit there chanting some mantra and waving the orgone around, and you won't, I guess, be suffering as much as somebody who knows really and truly the gig actually is up. Well, now you have to face the great question. Maybe it's premature. Maybe you're worried about, oh shit, what's going to happen to my wife and kids or something like that. I just got diagnosed with terminal leukemia. Well, if you were a crystal-gazing light worker, you probably wouldn't be worried. You say, cancer, it's caused by fluoride. Somebody sprayed me with a chemtrail. I'll put these orgone rocks on my nipples and I'll drink a lot of vinegar and I'll feel fine in the morning. Imagine how wondrous it must be to have such a mentality. It's almost like a childlike mentality. I like to think that many children have maybe a little bit more reason than that as well. At least if you explain how something probably doesn't work, generally you can get through to them. But with adults, it's a lot harder because of cognitive dissonance. With somebody who's very young, the understanding of reality is more malleable. This is why I do believe when people claim, oh, well, children can see spirits more easily. They can see like magic more. Yeah, maybe. I'm more agnostic on that. I saw weird stuff when I was a kid, but then I see weird stuff now too. So who cares? But I mean, like weird even for me. So yeah, maybe that's actually the case. But as far as like light workers go, most of these people, some of them are outright elderly. Some 70-year-old hippie man, he smokes weed all day and waves his rocks around. He doesn't have a care in the world. He thinks, well, I'm a child of Yahashua, Ben Joseph, sitting tree or something like that. And he waves his rocks around blessing the land and goes out to plant his non-GMO cantaloupe plant so that he can juice himself or something. It'd be a pretty nice life. It'd be almost like a hobbit existence or something. I like to replicate this physically as much as I can. I've told people my ultimate goal is to have a little stone cottage and an enormous, garden around it. We're talking, a couple acres of nothing but garden and orchard. Have a lot of apple trees, peach trees and stuff. Probably in a climate that's more conducive to citrus fruits, maybe. Something like that. But at the same time, I don't pretend that by surrounding myself with the big garden and living maybe, you know, a tea-drinking hobbit lifestyle just because I happen to like a more vegetarian, natural menu. I like the flavor of the non-GMO vegetables more than the stuff you get in stores, I will admit that, and the wild berries more than the ones you get frozen. Just because of that, I don't pretend that that makes me immortal and invulnerable and a child of Yahashua ben Joseph Sitting Tree or something like that. But a lot of people seem to think that that's the case. If they go out and they chant and take, you know, DMT or something, that magically the lizard men will come to take them away at some point. It's almost a cultic activity in the same sense. What was it called? The ones that produced The Voice of Bridget, that really weird manuscript I uploaded on the archive. I can't remember exactly what the group was called. It was some UFO cult. I got a bunch of their literature. Some of it's like, whoa. It's supposedly channeled writing, so it's all over the place and has no real, it's like stream of consciousness stuff. It's really weird. It's like you'll feel like you're tripping out when you read it, honestly. You look at the covers, you think you're having a nightmare sometimes. Voice of a Star, I want to say? I can't remember. Anyway, some of their members, at one point, apparently they went out in the desert in their car and they were waiting for the UFO because they'd been convinced that the UFO was coming to pick them up. They actually starved to death. Like, even when they were starving, they probably were just sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, I'm real hungry. I'm feeling kind of bad, but you know they're probably waiting till we pass out from hunger. Then they'll come and get us. And we'll be on the mothership or something, and we'll have, you know, magic alien fluids implanted into our heads." And so they died. They starved to death out in their car. I think one of their higher level figures and her boyfriend, if I remember correctly, actually died as part of the UFO cult. Now, nobody else in this cult told them to do that. It's not like one of those groups where you're told to, it's not like Heaven's Gate or something like that. It's more mild, but these people were, clearly they had something wrong with them. But that same reigning mentality, making excuses for why something didn't work, expecting them to work when it's clearly bullshit, honestly, seems common among some of these lightworkers, not all of them. Some of them have more common sense. Some of them are just, you know, hippie, trippy granola. And they happen to like crystals. They happen to like organic tea and stuff. Hell, I do too. I've got, you know, crystals. I've got rocks and stuff. But I don't pretend that if I get diagnosed with atherosclerosis or something like that, or COPD, or, you know, oh, you got a terminal brain tumor, you're going to be dead within 6 months. Oh, well, that's okay. I take a hammer and I start hitting that quartz into my skull or something. It's just not going to work. So I kind of wish sometimes that I could believe in those things. It's like I kind of wish sometimes I could bring myself to believe in, like, Jesus, in resurrection and redemption and all those things. It seems very easy, at least the way that some Christians believe in it. Some of them, they say you got to be baptized, you got to tithe, you got to go to church religiously, you got to spread the word to others at every possible opportunity, you got to be a total zealot. I don't think that's probably way harder than belief in the occult. That's way harder than belief in, like, something like friggin' Islam at that point. But at the same time, there are Christians who essentially say, oh, you say the sinner's prayer, you believe in Jesus, let him into your heart, and you're all good. Yeah, you're going to heaven. You know, you got to act right or else you might get cursed, but yeah, you're going to heaven regardless. Just don't give up the Holy Spirit. You can't blaspheme the Holy Spirit. You can do anything else. You can visit hookers, but you better feel sorry for it afterwards. That kind of Christian, yeah, that'd be an easy life. The problem being I can't bring myself to believe in it. I've had plenty of people from various religions say, well, why take a chance? Just believe in it, man. Just believe in Jesus Christ. Just believe in the Mormon Jesus, man. Why don't you just turn to Allah, man? Then you can go to paradise. And if we're wrong, it doesn't matter because there's nothing after death. But if we're right, man, you can get those virgins, man. That's going to be some tasty stuff. And they tell me this. I'm like, yeah, that's great. It sounds fine. But I can't bring myself to believe in them. It's impossible for me to do so. It's not that I have some major brain fart and some major problem whereby it just doesn't make sense to me when it's so self-evident. It's more like it's not self-evident at all. It makes absolutely no sense to me. There's no evidence of it. I am evidence-driven, even within the occult. Within the occult, I say, if something appears to be working, why tamper with it? Unless it stops working, gets totally screwed up. If something clearly doesn't make any sense whatsoever, as for instance, oh, you can cure this disease by drinking mercury. Does that compel me to experiment with this? No, because I'm pretty sure it's a bad idea. And I think occultists should probably take up that tack. Sometimes people do, sort of the ritualism, or they believe in things that are outright dangerous, honestly, psychologically or physically speaking. I would say some of these crystal gazing, naive individuals, I would class them as, are the same way. The only difference is waving around a piece of orgone's probably less harmful than drinking mercury or something like that, or cutting yourself for Satan. There are some angsty teens around that have done that. That is one element. I'll agree with the Christians there. Yeah, there are people who call themselves devil worshippers and cut themselves or something like that, or get into fights, or, you know, put a swastika on people's gravestones. Yeah, that does happen. They're not actual Satanists. They don't even know what Satan is. They have less clue than the average priest, and the priesthood is deficient when it comes to such things as well. They don't even understand their own canonical gospels half the time. So I'd say that. Yeah, it would be nice to be naive, because it'd be easier. It would be so wonderful, so wonderfully easy. Just go to bed, sleep soundly, just like a baby. Oh yeah, Yahashua is going to come get me in his UFO if I just keep waving this crystal around enough every time there's a full moon. I just have to wait till I'm dead and the mothership will take me up. That'd be pretty cool. It's too bad I can't believe in such things. The closest thing I have is a veneration of nature, just a feeling of awareness of the energy of nature itself, especially trees, plants, flowers, as well as a veneration of its aesthetic aspects. That's basically what I have in place of, I guess, the naive nature of sometimes self-proclaimed occultists. I don't know that many of those people use that term. They say they're a light worker, or a white witch, maybe. They may use those terms. Otherwise, they typically stick to just, oh, I do what I do. I wave my crystal around. That's about all. Peace out.